Most of the pain in your life didn't come from events. It came from conversations, or the lack of them, arguments that spiraled, misunderstandings that grew roots, moments where you wished you had said less, or wished you had said more, words that were too sharp, words that came too late, silences that grew heavier than truth. Human connection should make life better. Yet so many of us walk around wounded by avoidable conflict and accidental communication. But imagine this. What if every conversation you entered felt easier, calmer, clearer? What if misunderstandings melted away? What if your voice softened tension instead of creating it? What if you could speak in a way that made people feel safe, understood, and open? And what if communication, instead of causing conflict, created connection? This audiobook is your roadmap to that life. Welcome to Positive Communication. Less conflict, more happiness. Subtitle: Make conflict disappear. Speak calmly, be heard clearly. Positive words, positive life. In the next 60 minutes, you will learn how to communicate with strength, clarity, calmness, and emotional awareness, so you can build relationships that feel peaceful instead of exhausting. In this audiobook, you will discover why negativity destroys connection, how to stay calm even when conversations heat up, how to speak so people actually want to listen, how to avoid miscommunication before it begins, how to diffuse conflict with a single sentence, how to express needs without creating tension, how to build happiness through the tone you use, the psychology behind positive communication, the secret phrases that create instant peace, how to make people feel understood, respected, and valued. And early on, you'll hear the punchline that sets the tone for everything that follows. Positive communication isn't about being nice. It's about being effective. Being nice is passive. Being effective is powerful. Nice tries to avoid conflict. Effective communication prevents it. Nice softens truth. Effective communication delivers truth gently, clearly, and respectfully. Nice hopes things will resolve themselves. Positive communication creates clarity so things truly resolve. This audiobook is not about pretending everything is good. It's about creating communication so strong, so emotionally intelligent, that conflict simply has no place to grow. If this message resonates with you, hit like when you listen later. Not as support for the video, but as a promise to yourself to communicate with greater awareness and intention. Now let's begin your journey. Dear friend, you are definitely on the right track if you are watching this video. Like, subscribe, and write in the comments which topic or problem concerns you the most. We promise to prepare a professional video explanation at your request. Chapter 1. Why conflict happens, even when you don't want it to. Conflict doesn't begin with words. Conflict begins with emotion. A raised eyebrow, a sigh that came too loud, a tone that cut deeper than the sentence itself, a moment of misunderstanding that spiraled faster than you could catch it. Most conflict is accidental, unintentional, a misfired attempt at being heard or understood. We argue not because we're bad people, but because our brains are wired for survival, not connection. When your brain senses a threat, even a tiny one, it activates protection mode. Defensiveness, sarcasm, criticism, withdrawal, shutting down, overreacting, assuming the worst. You're not trying to escalate. Your biology is trying to protect you. But here's the problem. Your nervous system can't tell the difference between a real threat and a difficult conversation. So every emotional discussion feels like danger. And when you feel danger, you don't communicate. You defend. This is why conflict rises so quickly. This is why conversations escalate. This is why people who love each other hurt each other with their words. But here's the liberating truth. Once you learn how to calm your inner world, your outer conversations transform. Positive communication is not about controlling the other person. It's about mastering your internal reactions so you don't add fire to fire. This audiobook teaches you how to speak from clarity, not from survival mode. How to respond, not react. How to understand, not assume. How to communicate to resolve, not to win. Because the goal of communication is not victory, it is connection. Before we move deeper, there's one more truth you must absorb. Most conflict exists because people don't feel understood. Not because they disagree, not because they're wrong, but because being misunderstood feels like emotional rejection. Positive communication removes that pain by replacing misunderstanding with presence. Now let's explore the foundation of that presence. Chapter 2. The energy you bring into a conversation. Every conversation begins before a single word is spoken. It begins with your energy, your intention, your emotional temperature. Positive communication starts inside you. Your nervous system, your tone, your posture, your breathing, your mindset. Think about this. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt tension, even before anyone spoke? Have you ever sensed someone was upset before they opened their mouth? Have you ever known a conversation would be difficult just by the look on someone's face? This is energy. Not mystical, not magical. Just emotional signals your brain detects instantly. People can feel impatience, irritation, judgment, frustration, defensiveness, closed-off energy, emotional overwhelm, unspoken resentment. And people can also feel openness, calm, curiosity, understanding, safety, grounded presence, genuine interest, emotional steadiness. The energy you carry determines the tone of the conversation before you say a single word. Let that sink in. Your energy speaks first. Your words speak second. This is why arguments escalate even when the words are nice. Tone betrays the truth. Breath betrays the truth. Posture betrays the truth. So how do you begin a conversation with the kind of energy that calms people? You master 3 things. 1. Your breath, shallow breath. Activated nervous system, reactive communication. Slow breath, calm nervous system. Measured communication. Just one deep breath can prevent an unnecessary argument. 2. Your tone is the emotional wrapper around your words. It carries more weight than the words themselves. A soft tone can deliver difficult truth. A harsh tone can turn simple truth into conflict. Tone is everything. 3. Your intention. Are you here to understand or to defend? To connect or to prove? To express or to win? Your intention radiates through your voice whether you realize it or not. Positive communication begins when your intention becomes connection. But intention alone isn't enough. There is a skill, simple, powerful, often forgotten, that transforms every conversation it touches. And that skill is the foundation of Chapter 3, listening. The kind of listening that dissolves tension, diffuses conflict, and makes people feel safe with you. The kind of listening that turns arguments into understanding. The kind of listening that has the power to save relationships, and that's where we go next. Chapter 3. Listening. The skill that ends most conflict before it begins. If there is a superpower in communication, something that instantly lowers conflict, melts tension, softens defensiveness, and transforms the way people respond to you, it is listening, not passive listening. Not the kind where you nod while preparing your next argument. Not the kind where you hear words but ignore the feelings underneath them. I'm talking about real listening. Presence, attention, curiosity. The kind of listening that makes the other person feel safe, seen, and emotionally understood. Most people don't want to win an argument. They want to feel heard. Let that line echo inside you. Because once you understand this, your communication changes forever. Doesn't matter if it's your partner, your child, your parent, your boss, your coworker, your friend. Everyone wants the same thing. To feel understood before they are corrected. To feel acknowledged before they are advised. To feel respected before you ask them to change. Listening is the doorway to connection. Let's break down the 3 layers of listening that transform your conversations. 1. Surface listening. Hearing words. Most people communicate only on this level. They hear the sentence. They process the content. They respond logically. But conflict isn't born from words. Conflict is born from meaning. Surface listening helps you hear the story, but not the emotion. It's the shallowest level, useful, but incomplete. 2. Emotional listening. Hearing feelings. This is where positive communication begins. Emotional listening means you go deeper. You hear the fear behind the complaint. You hear the insecurity behind the anger. You hear the disappointment behind the silence. You pick up on the tremble in their voice, the pause in their sentence, the shift in their tone. Example. They say, "You never help around here." The surface meaning is criticism. The emotional meaning? I feel overwhelmed and unsupported. When you respond to the emotion instead of the accusation, the conflict dissolves. You might say, "It sounds like you're feeling overloaded. Let's talk about how we can rebalance things." See the difference? Emotion understood. Tension softened. Connection restored. 3. Deep listening. Hearing the unspoken. Deep listening is rare, but when you master it, your relationships transform. Deep listening means understanding the person beyond the words they say. You hear the history they're bringing into the moment. You hear the past wounds showing up in their present frustration. You hear their patterns, their fears, their hopes, their needs. It's not mind reading, it's presence. It's noticing what's not being said. Example, your partner snaps at you over something trivial. Most people react defensively, but deep listeners ask internally, what pain is speaking right now? What fear is showing up? What deeper emotional need wants attention? You don't excuse bad behavior, but you understand the human behind it, and understanding reduces escalation. Listening is the heart of positive communication, but listening alone isn't enough. You need the ability to reflect what you've heard, which brings us to a powerful tool. Chapter 4. Validation. How to make people feel safe, seen, and understood. If listening is the bridge, validation is the foundation that stabilizes it. Validation does not mean agreement. Validation does not mean surrendering your truth. Validation does not mean accepting blame. Validation means acknowledging the experience of the other person, and this one shift alone can eliminate 70% of your conflicts. People escalate only when they feel dismissed or misunderstood. They calm down when they feel seen. Validation sounds like, "I hear you. I understand why this matters to you. That must have been really frustrating. I can see why you feel that way. Thank you for explaining it to me." Now let me be clear. Validation is not weakness. It is emotional intelligence. It is leadership. It is maturity. Let's break down the 3 forms of validation that create instant connection. 1. Emotional validation. Your feelings make sense. This is the deepest form of acknowledgement. It doesn't mean you agree with their interpretation. It doesn't mean you agree with their reaction. It doesn't mean you admit fault. It simply says, you are allowed to feel what you feel. Everyone calms down when their emotions are given permission to exist. Example, I get why you're upset. Anyone in your position would feel stressed. No argument, no defensiveness, just validation. Conflict dissolves faster when emotions are treated gently. 2. Perspective validation. I understand how you see it. This is crucial during disagreements. You don't have to see it the same way, but you can acknowledge their viewpoint. Example, I understand how that situation could look unfair from your side. This tells the other person, you're not crazy. Your perspective matters. Your perception is understandable. Perspective validation softens walls. It reduces defensiveness. It opens space for calm conversation. 3. Experience validation. Your story matters. This goes even deeper. Experience validation acknowledges the context behind someone's emotions. Example, I know you've been carrying a lot lately. That makes this moment even heavier. Now the person feels held, supported, understood. This is more than communication. It is emotional connection. Why validation works? Because validation calms the nervous system, reduces defensiveness, increases trust, builds emotional safety, invites honest conversation, strengthens relationships, prevents escalation. You don't fight fire with logic. You extinguish conflict with validation. It's worth saying again, validation is not agreement. Validation is acknowledgement, and acknowledgement is healing. Now, you might be asking, what about when I need to express myself calmly? What about when I need to set boundaries without triggering conflict? That's exactly where we go next, because Chapter 5 contains one of the most powerful communication tools you will ever learn: how to speak your truth without sounding defensive, aggressive, or emotional. Chapter 5. Speaking calmly: how to express yourself without causing conflict. Friend, write your opinion on this topic in the comments. Do you agree with us or not? I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Most people communicate in one of two ways. They either explode or implode. Explode: raising their voice, reacting emotionally, speaking too fast, letting frustration take control. Implode: swallowing their feelings, avoiding the conversation, minimizing their needs, hoping the issue disappears. Neither works. Both create conflict, just in different forms. Imploders create silent resentment. Exploders create loud tension. But there is a third way, a better way, a stronger way: calm communication. Calm communication is not passive. It is not weak. It is not avoidant. Calm communication is power under control. It is clarity, groundedness, and self-respect. Speaking calmly is a skill, one that will change the way people respond to you for the rest of your life. Let's break down the framework that will teach you how to speak your truth in a way that creates connection, not conflict. 1. Start with I. Statements, not you. Statements. You statements trigger defensiveness. They sound like accusations, even if you don't intend them. You never listen. You always interrupt me. You don't care about my feelings. These sentences send the conversation into battle mode. But I statements keep the conversation grounded. I feel unheard when I'm interrupted. I need a moment to finish my thoughts before you respond. I feel disconnected when we stop talking about things. Notice something? The message is the same, but the emotional impact is completely different. You attacks. I expresses. 2. Slow your voice down. When emotions rise, your speech accelerates. Your tone sharpens. Your breath shortens. This biologically signals danger to the person listening. So slow down. A slower pace communicates clarity, control, confidence, emotional intelligence. When you slow down, the other person's nervous system slows with you. You regulate the room. 3. State the feeling, not the accusation. Accusations create battles. Feelings create dialogue. Instead of, "You're always disrespectful," say, "I feel hurt when my efforts aren't acknowledged." Or instead of, "You don't appreciate anything I do," try, "I feel unappreciated and I'd like us to talk about it." Talking about your internal experience creates empathy, not conflict. 4. Use the power of pauses. Most people fear silence. They rush to fill it. But silence is one of the strongest tools you have. A pause says, "I'm thinking." A moment matters. This conversation deserves care. Pauses soften tension. Pauses slow emotional momentum. Pauses give space for reflection. A calm speaker controls the pace of the conversation the way a conductor controls the rhythm of an orchestra. 5. Ask permission before expressing something big. This technique instantly lowers defensiveness. You say, "When you have a moment, I'd like to talk about something important." Or, "Is now a good time to bring something up that's been on my mind?" Asking permission does 3 things. 1. It shows respect. 2. It prepares the listener emotionally. 3. It avoids blindsiding someone who is not ready. People respond better when they feel prepared, not ambushed. 6. Keep your tone low, warm, and neutral. You can say anything, yes anything, in a tone that maintains peace. Tone is emotional temperature. If your tone rises, the conflict rises. If your tone stays warm and steady, the conversation stays safe. A good rule: speak like you're holding a fragile glass object in your hands. You don't grip tightly, you don't throw it, you hold it gently. Your words should feel the same way. 7. Speak from curiosity, not judgment. Ask, help me understand. What do you think about? How did you feel when? What would make this better for you? Curiosity creates collaboration. Judgment creates conflict. In every difficult conversation, you must decide which energy you bring: combative or curious, closed or open, rigid or flexible. The right choice creates connection. 8. End with collaboration. The strongest communicators don't end with complaints. They end with solutions. What can we do about this? How can we improve this together? What's the next step for both of us? Conflict pauses when solutions begin. This chapter was about speaking calmly. Now it's time to explore something that most people never learn: how to communicate without being misunderstood. Because even the softest words can be interpreted incorrectly if you don't understand the psychology behind them. Let's enter Chapter 6. Chapter 6. How to reduce misunderstandings before they happen. Misunderstandings are the silent killers of relationships, not because they're dramatic, but because they're subtle. They slip into conversations unnoticed until tension builds, frustration rises, and connection breaks. The truth is simple. Most conflicts are not disagreements. They are misinterpretations. And misunderstandings come from one thing: assumptions. You assume what they meant. They assume what you meant. You assume their tone. They assume your intention. You assume the meaning behind their silence. They assume the meaning behind your reaction. Assumptions are emotional shortcuts. Your brain fills in the missing pieces based on your past, not the present. Positive communication breaks the assumption cycle and replaces it with clarity. Let's explore the tools that reduce misunderstandings before they grow into conflict. 1. Always clarify before you react. Most people react instantly. They take the sentence personally. They interpret the tone negatively. They assume the worst. Instead, ask, "Do you mean?" "So, what I'm hearing is, I want to make sure I understand this correctly. Are you saying?" Clarification prevents incorrect conclusions. It creates space for truth before emotion takes control. 2. Never assume. Tone over text. In our digital era, DMs, chats, emails, and messages, tone gets lost. A short response might mean, "They're busy, they're tired, they're distracted, they're overwhelmed, they're driving, they're in a meeting, they're in a hurry." They saw your message but haven't formed a response yet. But your brain interprets, "They're mad at me. They're ignoring me. I did something wrong." Don't create conflict through imagination. Ask before you assume. 3. Share how you interpreted their words. This is a powerful technique most people don't know. Instead of accusing, say, "When you said say, I interpreted it as Is that what you meant?" This softens the conversation. It gives the other person a chance to clarify. It prevents unnecessary conflict. Most people don't want to hurt you. They're just unaware of how their words landed. 4. Use state plus ask communication. State your understanding. Ask for confirmation. For example, "I heard you say you need more space. Do you mean space in general or just today?" Or, "You said the project feels overwhelming. Is it the workload or the deadline that's the issue?" State plus ask creates clarity where confusion loves to grow. 5. Don't fill silence with storytelling. When someone pauses, your brain invents a meaning. "You're ignoring me. You don't care. You're angry. None of this may be true. Silence is space, not judgment. Give people time to think. 6. Repeat. Back the core thought. This is called reflective communication. It sounds like, so what you're saying is, if I'm understanding you correctly, you want me to. Reflecting shows listening and eliminates misinterpretation. 7. Make your intention clear. Before you begin speaking, say things like, my intention isn't to argue, it's to understand what happened. Or, I want to talk about this so we can find a better way forward. Intention sets emotional direction. Without intention, conversations become chaotic. When you remove misunderstandings, you remove 80% of conflict. But one thing remains: how to communicate when the conversation gets truly difficult. The kind of conversation you avoid. The kind that makes your heart race. The kind that requires courage, clarity, and emotional maturity. That's where we go next. Chapter 7. The Art of Difficult Conversations. How to stay calm when everything feels intense. Some conversations tighten your chest before they even begin. You rehearse what you want to say. You imagine what they'll say. You picture the argument, the tension, the tears, the frustration. Difficult conversations don't scare you because of the words. They scare you because of the emotional storms attached to them. But here's something you've never been told. A difficult conversation is only difficult when you enter it unprepared. When you enter with clarity, calmness, grounded breath, and emotional awareness, the entire dynamic changes. Positive communication isn't about avoiding hard conversations. It's about navigating them with strength and grace. Let's break down the system used by emotionally strong communicators. The people who turn potentially explosive discussions into opportunities for clarity, growth, and connection. 1. Start with a grounding breath. You cannot enter a difficult conversation with a racing heartbeat. Your nervous system sets the temperature of the room. When you breathe intentionally, your tone changes, your clarity increases, your emotional intensity lowers. Before you speak, pause. Breathe in gently. Breathe out slowly. That breath is your anchor. 2. Begin with safety, not accusation. The first sentence determines the emotional direction. Start with calm. Intention. I want to talk about something important, and I want us to discuss it respectfully. Or, my intention here is clarity, not conflict. Or, I care about our relationship, so I want to talk about this openly. This signals safety, and when people feel safe, they listen better. 3. Focus on behavior, not identity. Never attack the person, discuss the action. Positive communication separates "you made a mistake" from "you are a mistake." People shut down when their identity is attacked. Say, when this happened, I felt hurt, not you're hurtful. Say, when plans change without notice, I get stressed, not you're irresponsible. Describe the behavior. Name the impact. Leave their identity intact. This is emotional maturity. 4. Use the factual core technique. Most arguments spiral because people add emotion on top of emotion. Here's how to prevent that. Strip the moment down to the facts. Example, instead of, you ignored me all day, say the factual core. I didn't receive a response to my messages today. Facts calm people. Interpretations inflame people. Facts create clarity. Interpretations create defensiveness. Identify the factual core, then build your message around it. 5. Speak in short, clear statements. Long explanations overwhelm. Short statements land cleanly. I felt overwhelmed. I needed more communication. I was confused by what happened. I want us to resolve this. Clarity is kindness. Brevity is power. The calmer you speak, the calmer the conversation becomes. 6. Ask for their perspective without fear. If you appreciate our efforts and our thoughts, subscribe and like this video. We need to show the world that there are many people like us. We must always continue to improve. People aren't used to being asked, "What was your experience of this?" It disarms defensiveness instantly. It shows that you are here to understand, not accuse. And here's something powerful. When people feel heard, they feel human again. Asking for their perspective creates emotional balance. 7. Don't respond immediately. Absorb first. When they speak, your instinct will be to correct, defend, interrupt, justify, explain. Don't absorb. Let their words land. Let their emotions breathe. Responding too fast shows reactivity. Responding thoughtfully shows maturity. Take your time. Conversations feel safer when nobody rushes. 8. End with the future, not the past. People get stuck replaying what went wrong. Positive communication shifts the focus. Ask, what can we do going forward? How can we avoid this next time? What agreement can we both commit to? Solutions heal. Blame repeats. Difficult conversations don't destroy relationships. Avoided conversations do. When handled well, difficult conversations deepen respect, strengthen connection, and build emotional intimacy. And now we step into something equally important. How to speak in a way people actually want to listen to. Most people listen only after they feel safe, but people listen even more deeply when your words naturally draw them in. Which leads us into, before we close, here is the final truth I want to leave with you. Peace is not found in silence. Peace is found in how gently you speak your truth. Thank you for listening. Thank you for learning. Thank you for becoming a more positive communicator. Now tell me, what topics should the next full audiobook explore?